Okay, I think we're good.
All right, so I don't even know how to start this one.
Should we just start with an intro? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, Jake's going to do that for the storytelling portion, but, like, for the discussion portion. Here, you read us in, Tony. You got this.
Read us in?
Yeah.
Okay. Go. Welcome to Hold Fast, the LARP Podcast, Episode 1, Season 2.
Mm-hmm. That's right, it is Episode 1, Season 2. We have to keep this, like, right here. Okay, yeah, hi, welcome back, everybody.
What's up, guys?
It is Season 2, officially. This is crazy.
Season 2 of the
I
LARP
forget
Podcast?
how to do this, clearly.
Yeah, that's all right.
But yeah, welcome back. This is Season 2. We're going to have some more stories for you, some really interesting stories. We have some really interesting discussions coming up this season, and we have some really interesting guests, which brings me into my next point. We have some guests on the podcast today. First of all, we have our lovely narrator, Jake Dowsel.
Hello, I'm still here.
We have cast member and Beastmaster extraordinaire, Rob Wilde. I almost called you Rob White.
Hi, I'm not the Beastmaster.
And last but certainly not least, we have the person who makes this entire LARP. And if it wasn't for this LARP, this podcast wouldn't exist. So we have the wonderful, the amazing Sharon Norton, our AD.
I don't know what sleep is.
I believe that. Yeah, so on the podcast today, we're just going to talk a little bit to our cast about how they sort of make Epoch happen and, yeah, what's going to be going on with it this season.
I wonder if we can delve a little deeper into how we're going to die.
By death and murder and death, of course.
In that order?
But, well, you know, there might be some switch-ups. We like to do maybe murder and death and then murder and death again.
Or then death and then murder.
Or slow, painful murder and death.
I guess death and murder doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in terms of order.
Nah. Anything is possible.
Anyway, so, all right, why don't you guys start off with telling us a little bit about yourselves and, you know, maybe how you got started in LARPing and how Epoch sort of got on the go.
Everyone's looking at me, so I guess I'll start. How I got started in LARPing would have been way back when, probably about 12 years ago or so. And I had started playing D&D initially, and my DM was like, oh, you might find some of my friends interesting. Introduced me to his friends, and they were like, you look nerdy enough. Try this LARPing thing. And I was like, okay. I knew almost nobody. Was quasi-friends with the group of people I went, so that had my father in a panic. And I apparently didn't really enjoy the first night, but ended up absolutely loving the second day and night to the point that I don't actually recall not liking the first night at all.
Oh, interesting.
And I stayed there until I came over to Newfoundland, because I'm from the mainland. I came over to Newfoundland in 2010. And realized that I'd have to stay in Newfoundland for the summer and needed my fix. So I started up Epoch here because I'm not an addict, I swear.
It is addicting. So Rob, why don't you get into how you kind of came about all this?
I was kind of forced into it by a friend of mine. Okay,
all the best ones are.
Forced is just the wrong word. He told me I would really like it, and I was all, yo, LARPing is nerdy for nerds. And so I tried it anyway, just because I wanted to swing around a huge sword. I got to make a big old sword with a guillotine head. That was cool. And then I was like, I'll just hit stuff, right? That's all I'll do. And then there turned out to be a hot girl there.
Aww.
So, really, I wasn't as into it at first. She was the reason I kept coming back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're finding out some stuff here today.
For those of us who don't play this LARP and listen to the podcast, just to break a little bit of the sexual tension here, Rob and Sharon are engaged to be married.
I'm sorry about that.
So that explains that a little bit.
We've been together for quite a while now.
Yeah.
We'll be 7.
Yeah, that was 7 years ago now. But yeah, I went there and I was enjoying it actually. Like there was a whole bunch of adventure to be had. They had a beautiful forest there too.
Didn't you have like a big old sword?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you and Tony are the big sword dudes.
Yeah.
So when you started Epoch in Newfoundland, or when you started your chapter or whatnot, how big was it and how did it grow? And
That was all Sharon's initiative.
yeah.
I from the start, I've just been helping her because it's her baby.
I think I might have heard this story like at least 2 or 3 times now, but
Listen, it's important
it never
to hear.
it never gets old.
So pretty much it's like I knew I needed to continue LARP, and so I stuck with Epoch simply because it was a rule set I already knew, and I didn't want to have to rewrite new ones and also try to encourage people to come to a rule system that I probably really wouldn't know all that well. And I had tried some meet and greets, and nobody was showing up, and I was lamenting about it to an acquaintance, and they were like, why don't you try sci-fi? I'm like, no, man, sci-fi is so close. Like, there's no way there's going to be a panel open. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure there is. Like, he was, like, second in command for security at the time. So he gave me the panelist, the person who, like, organized all the panels number. She was like, yep, there's a couple of spots. So I chose 5 p.m. on a Saturday. It ended up being standing room only. People ended up, like, standing ovation, which is just a memory that can never go away. And it just... From there, we started in my backyard, and we probably had about a dozen or so people. And then when...
We had less.
Well, no, but a dozen then. And then when my landlord was like, look, you've been real nice tenants, but get out. We had to then find a permanent location that wasn't just my backyard. So that's when we went up to Mac Shack out in Torres Cove. I swear I know where it is. And then that's when we dropped from about the dozen to probably about 6 or 8. But it never dropped below that, and it just kind of kept growing, and now we're 2. We went from that original half a dozen-ish to about 40 now.
Yeah, like a consistent 42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty fantastic to have such a big game in such a small province. When you dropped from that half a dozen to 6 or 8, or even when like has there ever been a moment in Epoch's history where you're like, I just can't do this anymore? I feel like that every day with just menial tasks, so I can't even imagine running a LARP.
I mean, it's certainly stressful to the point where you're just like, if I could just curl up and cry under my blankets, that would be fantastic. But it's...
Don't have time for that.
But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of that there really isn't enough time to like sit and weep about your lack of time.
I'd say the passion that she has for it outweighs any fatigue she feels at any
Well, if you're
time.
passionate about it, you'll keep working,
Yes.
towards it to make it happen.
Well, it's mostly I want to see other people LARP, and if I have to, it's sound very cliche, but if I have to sacrifice myself to do so, then so be it.
You're the LARP martyr. So
That makes me nervous.
you're like, give me my woman back, damn you! You're sucking her dry. So we have a new season coming up. What season will this be for Epoch? How many seasons now?
Do we have a title for this season like we did last time and the one before that?
It's season 6 because I can math.
It is season 6.
Season 6.
Well, it's arguably between like season 5 and 6 because we did start in 2014 and this is 2019. Mm-hmm. But then people come to me going, well, season 1 was this, which makes this season 2, which makes this season 3. So I go, okay, whatever.
So this is your 6th season.
It's a little mixed up because of the low key start we had, like in our backyard, and
Right.
now it seems a bit more like a real thing, I suppose.
Like
We're
official.
definitely at least 5.
Right. I think that's super important. Like, I really love how this LARP had such a humble beginning and it's grown so much, because sometimes you see these like blockbuster LARPs that they just seem to come out of the gate with all this money, and not all people don't always seem to have a good time with them either. So I think it's important that you can show people you can start small and grow something bigger, rather than like you don't need to have thousands of dollars to start up a club.
I mean, it really did help that the people that ended up helping me becoming part of my cast were also equally as passionate. Mm-hmm. So they were willing to put in, their little amount of time to be able to help me and build props and everything like that, which is crucial. You need props to be able to say,
Yeah.
hey, take this sacrificial dagger and stab that spider with it. Well, you actually want some kind of sacrificial dagger and some kind of spider to stab with said dagger.
Why are you sacrificing a spider?
I don't... It's...
The spider coats.
But yeah, so in that regard, I was incredibly lucky, and my wealth came from the people around me and willing to help and all of that. Because I was also a student at the same time starting up this LARP. I've only just exited that, and I plan to go back into it because I'm insane.
Because you're just a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
So yeah, this 5th season coming up, what can you tell us about it so far?
Death.
Anything?
Death.
Just death?
Well, I mean, I remember looking at Rob the other day, and we were talking about something, and I stopped and went, oh crap, we're going to have to pull off the kitty gloves for this, aren't we? And he went, yep. I'm like, oh, fuck.
So the kid gloves are coming off.
Kid gloves are coming off. Yeah.
I tried to, best way to put this. So I'm sure you guys remember that last season had some pretty intense encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of, but it's also that nobody really died a whole lot. Okay.
I beg
so
your
Excuse me?
pardon.
Okay. A lot of death.
I'm the one who does the Land of the Deads. You tell me nobody died.
The point is, so in LARP, when a player's taken down, for anybody who doesn't know, in this LARP specifically, they go down, their HP goes down to 0, and then they don't die right away. They just go into their bleed, which is a 10-minute count, and once that 10 minutes is up, then they die. And there's this thing that is called a killing blow. You put it on a person, or you use it on a person, and then it will kill them before their bleed's up.
So that's kind of like an insta-kill, right?
Yeah, we are very sparing when we send out NPCs and mobs, whether or not they have whether or not they're called what we call KBA.
Killing blow active.
Killing blow active. It's like it's a big deal, and we haven't actually really done any up until this point. So regardless of how intense the fights were last season, none of those mobs were actually...
well, no, there were some that were out there that
There
were
were a
KBA.
couple.
The ones that made sense were KBA, and that's sort
there
of...
weren't really many opportunities that came up.
I mean, that's also kind of the same idea with this season, is that the mobs we're sending in that are going to be KBA make sense to be KBA. It's not like we're like, okay, this random rat that just wants to eat some chicken is now KBA. No, it's just that all the mobs that we're planning
It makes sense for them.
KBA.
Sharon's been reining it in a bit because she's nervous about players dying.
You sick freaks.
Oh, right. Sorry.
As a player, I'm nervous about players dying because I'm one of the idiots that will die.
Yeah, me too. If there's anyone that's gonna die, it's probably gonna be me.
It's gonna be Timmy.
The stake.
Tony, I don't think that's fair to say about Kron. He's got a lot of power behind him.
The stakes are
know
rising.
what I have planned
That's
for
where it comes down to.
That was so close to the microphone sound so good.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't hear that.
Neat.
So, all right. So, killing blow active things for this season. Kid gloves are off. What about in terms of last season's storylines? Like we saw the apocalypse happened. We fought with the Axis Supersede. We saw some circles go down. Is this sort of the end of that storyline, or will things kind of pick up again there?
The best I can really ever answer is, as far as yes. Mm-hmm. I have to answer Foig, because it could be totally done, but why give you that hope?
You can just tell me a secret later. It's all right.
I'm sure people have noticed that there's a bit of fallout from the Axie Supersede storyline specifically. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's that to deal with, but I'm pretty sure you killed them all.
What?
A couple of them keep propping up every now and then.
Currently, the players feel like everything's wrapped up and clued up, and so from the feelings we've been getting, the players are sort of gearing up for a new story and a new threat. And why would we want to disappoint?
That's what was cool, is that at the end of last season, we had 2 huge season-spanning arcs wrap up with the Axie Supersede
seasons,
and Jenny,
plural.
who had kind of been there around for almost the whole time.
Yeah.
And they got dealt with. I mean, there's still some stuff to...
I think Jenny was actually one of the first big mobs we ever had in game. I think she was there in 2014, in that couple of events at Mac Shack where it was just sort of the 8.
She's one of that cast member's oldest characters.
Yeah, if not, it was like, sort of the beginning of 2015, because I remember there were so few people when we first introduced Jenny and she was coming out and she was fighting and everything like that. I remember everything, there were so few players. I couldn't do this now, I wouldn't be able to, that I was standing in the kitchen watching all of the stuff happening in the field, and just commenting with the other caster who was just commenting how, the person playing Jenny was so happy and that she, so thrilled to be able to play and look how much fun they're having and everything like that. And it was really sweet. But that was how few players we had, that everybody was out in the field. Medics, fighters, everybody was out in the field. There was nobody to catch a couple of cast members standing at the kitchen window watching.
It was almost like you were a mom who had time to watch her babies grow up, and now you're just working 24/7.
Now she has too many babies.
Now I have 40 that all have discovered how kitchen knives work. Yeah.
So last question I'll ask you about the season. I think Tony asked this and it kind of got lost in the conversation. Is there a title for this season like we had last year?
We have one in the works, but we don't know for certain, so I don't really want to give any spoilers because I don't want to be like, it's the purple chair season, and the cast comes up going, idiot, it's the Chesterfield season. So, yeah.
It was a great example, Rob. It worked perfectly.
It has to be an example so far removed from what it actually is.
Inside information for everyone listening, this whole season is just a giant game of musical chairs. Musical chairs and death.
In IKEA.
In IKEA.
The death is in the ball pits.
We don't speak of the ball pits, Sharon.
It's funny because Chesterfields are kind of like IKEA in that they're really easy to get into, fucking difficult to get out of.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, Labyrinth. An IKEA Labyrinth season. Let's cut this out. That was a dumb idea. Okay, one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about while you were here. Last season in the, what was it called? The ED event?
Oh yeah, the
event.
Yeah, we had our ED event, our event director.
Yes, Tony and a few other of our players sort of guest directed an event, and you got to play.
I did.
How was that?
Oh my god, it was amazing. It was just, it helps to, when people, AD or DM, if they're the person running the game, you can sort of tell the ones that are the people that really just want to go back to playing, if they get a chance to play and go, give me more, versus they're like, well, that was nice, give me back my DM screen. I can't give up ADing. I love it, and it's my thing, it's my baby, I'm not going to give it up, but it was a lot of fun to not have all the answers. Mm-hmm. But the fun thing is that because I had to make sure everything was still balanced and was still going to run smoothly, I was there for all of the planning meetings with cast and the ED cast.
Mm-hmm. We had to ask a lot of questions and get the go ahead on a couple things.
Essentially, the things I was going for is okay, are these balanced, is that balanced? I trusted my cast to make sure stats were balanced, but I didn't want to know stats or weaknesses or any of that. So that way, when I came in playing, I wasn't going, yes, it's the giant spider that I swear isn't weak to fire at specifically the third need cap. Honest, I swear. That's not it. Do it. I don't know it. So...
Is that how deep it is? It's
You'd be surprised how much planning goes into critters and stuff.
Damn.
But
that's cool.
It was a lot, but because of that, I then knew some things that were going to happen. There was a particular event where they were planning, okay, so the bandits will come in, we'll make this proposition.
Oh my god.
Of, either you're going to give us the money or we kill the players and that's it. And I'm like, are you sure that's going to be it? Because players be players. And they're like, yep, that's going to be it. There's only 2 options, hammer down, that's it. I'm like,
you idiots.
Okay. And sure enough, they didn't account for players being players. And we ended up getting exact information to the camp. We had one of the PC they had taken hostage and had brought back to be hostage survived that encounter. So he was able to lead everybody back. And my character went with, just because that's sort of where the storyline was going. And I remember as we were out of game, I was dancing happily going, we're gonna fuck up the story, because I knew they didn't have an answer.
You're like, I never get to do this.
And sure enough, when I think it was Alex went back to CastCap and going, Rob, this is happening, we didn't plan for this. And Rob was like, no, don't worry, that's fine, we'll just ask
She's out there. She's playing.
Rob, you didn't play that game, did you? You were still cast?
I had to be.
Oh, okay. Right. Would you like to have an event where you don't have to cast? Like, is that something that interests you, or are you kind of solely in it from an organization perspective right now?
It would be fun to play. I find myself like thinking about it sometimes, but I wouldn't trust anybody else with my monsties.
He says he's not the
I was
Beastmaster.
just gonna say that.
But then he's like, but they're my babies, and you won't know how to play them. It's Rob, it's a rat, it's a spider, but you won't know how to play them.
I don't know, man. People don't think about that stuff, right?
So, for anyone wondering which character Sharon was playing, in the story episodes that is coming out after this episode, it actually features your character, Sophie. Yeah, so...
I wasn't playing Sophie for the ED event.
Oh, well...
She was playing Lynn, I think.
Oh, no. Right, okay, no. For the Heart event, you were playing Sophie.
Yes.
So, okay, so Sophie's technically cast now.
Yes.
Then
sadly.
scrap all that fucking shit I just said. That was all wrong. So, okay, are there any character storylines that you guys particularly enjoy
Oh my gosh, yes.
and want?
All right.
Can you spill the tea on that, or is that like a no-no?
I gotta be real careful.
Okay.
Okay, so
Sorry, you go.
I guess to clarify on the question, is it any in past, present, and future, or just
Sure,
in future?
yeah, like anything you're looking forward to, anything that you've had fun with in the past. Like, what makes a good character for you guys? Because I'm sure you see a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again. So, like, what to you guys makes a good character and makes you say, I want to do stuff with that plot line, I like that backstory, and I want to jump into that?
So for me personally, anybody who knows me and knows the players that I interact with, heavy air quotes on that one.
For those at home, Tony has his glasses shifted down and is looking at Sharon.
He's giving
like
me the Nan
say
stare.
what? Or like what you talking about?
It's the essentially the two sort of players or characters that I've been able to kind of make my punching bag, as it were, have been Timian and Kron. Because both players, on an out-of-game level, have gone, I'll roll with it. We also do, Jake was one who looked at me when I did a particular thing and looked at me, like this is one of his first events, going, is that all you've got? Is that a challenge? Well, is that all you've got? Give me a second, son.
I regret nothing.
But I mean, since then, other people have been able to take onto Big Bun storylines and been able to roll with it and everything like that. The players that I like interacting with are... It's hard because I know a lot of players will be like, oh, I'll just roll with the punches. But it's the people that have rolled with the punches that I have... They've come to me after going, I'm okay with it, but not everybody would have been okay with what just happened.
Right.
And it's that sort of... it's also an excellent time where it makes you go... I need to pull things back a little. I may have been a little bit too sadistic. So it's kind of that where I'm eager to see how that character is going to take on a challenge and overcome it, and if they're going to change it all or grow, or if they're going to stagnate or what have you. So that was... Timian he had this particular goal in mind of trying to get initially his kid back, and then he was trying to learn particular spells, and in order to do that, I was able to just throw, and I mean, it wasn't just me, players were also accidentally and possibly intentionally throwing challenge after challenge at Timian that he just had to leap over because he couldn't do anything else but overcome them if he wanted to get to his ultimate goal, which was fun to see how Timian rolled with it, and subsequently how the player rolled with it. And that's sort of very similar to with Kron in particular now, because Timian's now gone home. He's reached his ultimate goal, and he's gone home. He might come back. I don't know. That's up for the player to decide. But Kron, it's now he has goals and things that he wants to worry about. And quite by accident, I ended up falling in love with an NPC that Kron wanted to go back home to check on his family, and I was just like, okay, on one of these ships you come across the captain and the quartermaster and a cabin boy. named 10-year-old kid voice. How am I going to do it? No voice. This kid's going to have no voice. And I ended up just falling in love with this character named Misty that I ended up being able to reintroduce into game, like actually in game versus just doing some RP in Tony's basement. Mm-hmm. And which sounds real bad.
What happened? Wait, what?
Rob, close your ears.
Rated T for T.
If I could harken back, actually, to something that happened just last season with Jake's character, Big Bun. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a huge plot line. This is actually not Jenny related. It was just.
Are you sure it was me then?
Doesn't even matter.
Big Bun has a very entrepreneurial spirit, and he's been researching lots into. He's a master smith for one.
Yes.
And he's been researching. He really wants to learn how golems work because a number of months ago, a golem came in and it was disposed of. Kron ended up fighting it. I think that was talked about on yeah, that was talked about on this, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was an amazing fight, by the way.
And
I loved
It was good. Oh, I saw one of them. Was there one in the field and then one you did privately?
Yeah, well, actually, it was the same one, but it was
close mod.
I
and
saw
it was
something
awesome.
happen. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, so but Big Bun, I don't really know what your interest was at first, but the golems came back, or the gold golem came back, and a silver one came as well. Actually, which Tony played.
Yeah.
And then Big Bun was dead set on dismantling that thing and finding out how it worked. And so that was sort of like his passive occupation for a while because he just was melting it for most of it. But,
I spent my time at the forge and it was like, well, okay, this thing is big and hefty. Yeah, this thing is big and hefty and takes a while to heat up. So I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to spend the next 8 hours by the forge keeping this thing not moving.
He legit
and melted.
spent all of that time trying to melt this fucking thing down.
I near enough spent the entire time. I was like, if people were like, hey, can you help us with this? No.
it took you guys like an hour to break its head off.
Yeah, and I did.
Yeah, it was persistent because I knew in my head when I was lying there, I was like, they're never going to take this thing apart. They're going to like I was preparing to just lie there for an hour before anything happened.
Were you prepared to lie there for 8 hours?
I was prepared to lie there for as long as it took because we had it established that these things are so dense that you can't just like even when you guys deactivated it, it was still lying on the ground kind of shifting, even though it was not moving.
If by deactivate you mean pummel it, then yes.
Yeah, you hit it hard enough and something went click in its brain. But yeah, we have this whole thing with it going on, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool if somebody learned how to use them, reverse engineered them, and that's kind of what Big Bun ended up trying to do.
That is exactly my plan, and I'm not going to spoil how far I've come along because I know that there are other players around, but I am machinations are in place.
Ooh.
So will we see potentially our own golem this season? No.
Baby Big Bun.
No.
I'll give you a clue. It's really, really difficult. As a player who is a master smith, and basically who cannot get better at regular smithing if I try, because I'm like, well, I've done everything now. I've beaten chess. What next? Like, it's a case of, well, I mean, I could definitely make something that looked like one, and if you told it go and attack something, it would act like the statue it is. However, research takes time, and this book is as big as Sharon says it is, which is so far one more page than the number of pages I've read. Which I think is a fair assumption. It's like, okay, how is this research? There's more. Okay, does more. How? Still more. It's like, I'm sensing the pattern here. I know,
So,
for the record, I'm okay with this.
yeah.
Plans are afoot.
So Rob, is that like is Jake kind of the kind of LARPer that you're like, I want to do more story stuff with him. Like that's where I want to.
I like what Jake comes up with. I think in this case it just happened to pique my interest because I was playing the golem, the gold golem, and then and I just thought, well, whenever stuff like that comes into game, whenever stuff like that comes into game where players have to solve a mystery and understand the inner workings of something.
And rewrite history.
And yeah. I think it's always, I don't know, it's fun to see people problem solve and, like, you know.
I do
Wait,
want
you
Play
mean throwing
detective.
it in the ocean wasn't problem solving?
Well, that was
So,
technically a solution,
It was
sure.
a solution to a problem.
The number of problems it caused, however.
Hey, I dealt with it.
I do want to interject with, like,
Twice.
in as much as Rob and I have our particular examples of this player and that player, a lot of our players, and all of our players do put their best foot forward. And so while we're just coming up with particular examples, that's not to say that we haven't noticed other people putting their best foot forward.
Oh, 100%.
And just working as best they, sometimes, we're like, okay, maybe you could have tried a little bit harder, but at the same time, they can say that about us, I'm certain. So
I think it's also that we don't want to necessarily zero in. I mean, obviously, it's hard not to have biases, but every cast event or cast meeting rather, specifically when we're planning for the season, we go through a list of who
hasn't had a thing?
Who hasn't had a thing? Yeah, who can we pay more attention to? Who can we kind of like spark some plot for if we can? So we try to do that. When it
I think
comes
that's
down to
great.
it is dependent on the player to respond to it, and we can only do so much because we have a million other things to do.
Because we have sent out things where it's like, okay, we think this player would particularly enjoy this, and so we send out a cast member to that particular player, and they're kind of like sitting there juggling with the bullseye on their chest, going, hi, pay attention to me, do your thing with me, and the player's like, and he just walks completely aside, chats with them for a little bit, and then turns around and it's like, well, that was it. Okay, fine.
Well,
Bye.
I think everybody has like a particular play style and different things that they're looking for in a LARP. Like some people literally just want to go camping character all weekend and they don't care about getting any sort of extra attention. Yeah. But I think it's also important because I hear people who are like, I do this LARP and like nothing really happens for me. So like if there are like, tips for like, getting more involved in a game or like getting more... anything like that. I was just interested. Sorry to open up a whole fucking can of worms here.
No, that's good.
Honestly, the best advice that I can give is no matter if something doesn't feel like it's geared towards you, try and interact with it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Just roll with it.
I mean, that's pretty much it. My last event in Epoch Toronto, where I originated, I had specifically bought plot to send me off. Mm-hmm. But what I was hoping for, I mean, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Would not take it back in a heart. Like, no, that's mine. Give me. I'm holding on to it. But what I was kind of hoping for was completely opposite of what I got. And then by happenstance, because I was just in there and I was just playing, I got what I was looking for anyways. And I got to have both sides of that coin. So it is just a case of going in and trying your best and, die and die loudly. That's sort of advice we give to brand new players, partly because there's the mulligan where if you want to rebuild your character after the first event or two, you can, so you get back all that XP. So we encourage to die and die loudly because it allows you that chance to just go in, guns a-blazing, not giving two bits about what's going to happen to you because don't worry, you're going to be okay come next event.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit this event for your character, but next event, you'll be A-okay. And that meant that sort of mentality should just kind of carry forward. The Epoch system for death is relatively lenient on being able to come back should the player choose. Your first 2 deaths are ritual free, and any death after that, you need a ritual. I mean, it does cost XP, and it does get to a certain point where you're like, I may as well just gen a new character. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the XP cost is cumulative.
It doubles.
Yeah.
And so... But it's still, from some LARPs that I've played in, where it's like your first, the moment you die, you start drawing from a bag. You start drawing beads. And if you draw a black bead, then you're dead. But every single time you die, a white bead, you have so many white beads and so many black beads. And a white bead gets taken out.
Getting replaced, yeah.
And it's, so you get more and more chances of not, so you have every chance of, even if you wanted to, not being able to come back after your first death. First game, first death, you can't come back. And Epoch system is lenient enough, I feel, that there is the scare. You don't want to die because it will eventually cost you. But it's also lenient enough that you can go out and have fun and not have to worry about, well, I'm a 40-point speed bump, I can't do anything, how am I even going to be able to fight this, like, Axis what a seed? No. I'm in the woods, and that's where I'm staying. Here is my branch.
I would say, even apart from dying, though, what you always say, Sharon, you get out of it what you put into it. And
I don't, but that is a good saying.
Oh, you said it before. It's especially true with LARP. I think it's especially true with a lot of games, whether video, tabletop, etc. People want it to be given to them. Sorry, I don't mean.
I think
want
the thing
10
with
times the
LARP,
results, but they don't want 10 times the work.
but
you know what?
I don't even think that. Sometimes with LARP, I think where it's so live action, people don't always know what to do.
Yeah,
like
that's
they're
also
like,
fair.
can I do this?
Well, it's also a big thing that people forget that LARPing is essentially life, but in fantasy.
Right.
Regardless of whatever kind of genre your LARP might be, it's still real life. So at D&D, generally, if the DM is describing a particular dress on a particular person in a particular street as they're dancing in a particular way, most players go, I need to pay attention to this. The DM is speaking, therefore. Whereas in LARP, we can have that, essentially the golden goose come in, and nobody sees it. Mm-hmm. Nobody sees it. There was a time when I was a player that I ended up seeing this, cat creature come crawling by, and this guy, now this site that we played in Toronto was so much bigger than the site we play here in St. John's, and this guy had done literal laps of the site. That was what he was told. Do laps until someone catches you, or I think it was maybe 3 or 4, and then at that point come back. But do so many laps, and then if somebody notices you and interacts with you, act like this. And he had already done at least 1, maybe even 2 laps before I noticed him, got somebody to come with me, and we went to go figure out, and we started interacting with him. And I can't tell you the relief that cast member had, because he was on all fours.
Aww. Crawling
on gravel and in the forest and over a rickety wooden bridge. And I mean, that's commitment that cast was putting forth, but it's also that's how much players don't notice, that this town full of people. And it was a big thing that ended up helping us later on in the game. That thankfully I noticed, and I was able to get somebody that had some form of animal husbandry that was to come and get what we needed. But there was the golden goose, and it was almost walked past.
Yeah, that's not what I meant when I said.
That's what I meant.
Well, that's not what I meant when I said, players want it handed to them, because you have to be creative. You have to think outside the box sometimes if you don't necessarily know what to do. And that's not always easy. But yeah, you can't, especially in LARP, you can't expect things to just happen to you. Right. Like in D&D or in a video game. You have to go out and make it happen. You have to think, all right, well, what life skills does my character have? What can I do with this? Who can I interact with to start moving something forward? And I had that when I was in Toronto as well. That sort of lethargy, when I'm just sort of sitting around thinking, all I got is a sword. I don't really have anything to do. And I was just waiting for stuff to happen. And I just kind of had to come to terms to the fact that you have to go out and make it happen. You have to seek it out. You have to take the bait. Get on a game's level. Mm-hmm. If something's put out there, then dare to interact with it. Dare to be interested in it, even if you aren't interested in it, and see what you can get out of it. Right? It's not always something that is meant for you or geared towards you, but
good point. Because sometimes I've come across things in game where I'm like, that's not for me. I don't think I want to go down that rabbit hole, and then I do, and it turns out to be one of the best games I've ever had. I've had nights where I'm like, I'm just tired. I'm going to go to sleep. It doesn't look like anything that involves that's anything I want to be a part of is happening. But then I say, no, I'm going to stay up. I'll go do something. And then something major happens. And I'm whoa.
I will always say, if you ever have the thought, because this happened to me as player, as cast, if you ever have the thought of, I guess I'm a little tired. I should probably go to bed. Don't. Ixnay that thought. Ixnay that instinct. Get some caffeine into you, chocolate, whatever you need to do, and stay up until literally you've seen Cass actually collapse from exhaustion, and even then, stay up.
How do you guys okay, so what goes into planning a weekend? And Tony, I'm sure you can kind of include in this as well. What goes into planning a weekend, and how do you guys stay awake? Are you
Honestly,
are
it's
you
pure
not
adrenaline.
human? What's going on?
So Tony's right in the sense of staying awake. It's a lot of just adrenaline. It's a lot of, how much parents are like, okay, I want to go to sleep, but my kid's still awake, so I can't nap right now. It's that exact same idea. I can't nap right now, so I don't nap right now. A lot of my cast like to have naps throughout, and they're awesome in the fact that they space it out between them. So Rob might have a nap now while a couple of my other cast members want to, but they're like, okay, Rob's asleep, so we'll wait. And then when Rob gets up, they have a nap. And when they get up, someone else has a nap. I never nap, but that's, my cast is great in that they just sporadic, they will space their naps out and their periods of rest. Because even some of our cast members are just like, I need to go and just zone. And so they're not sleeping, but they're pretty much just sitting in a chair staring at a tree for about an hour.
You have a very committed cast. What do you have against them? What kind of dirt do you have to get them to work so hard for this game?
I mean, this is going to be public. I can't say that.
But it's something, right?
It's, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about this later. Jake, did you have any questions?
Yes, I do have questions. Back in the UK for a short while, I was ADing a system there, the university system, and all of the exec, as it was called there, rotated every year. Mm-hmm. So every year was a year-long plot, and then a new ref, in the UK it was ref, here it's AD, it's the equivalent would happen. Yeah. And dealing with players is really hard.
Yes, it is.
Just go to your happy place. Just go to your happy place.
I don't have a happy place, so I can't imagine how you cope with things. One of the things I was going to ask actually is, and you briefly touched on this when you were talking about the ED event, is when you were saying, we're going to send the bandits in, they're going to do A or B, and that's it. And then option J happened. I imagine at no point can you ever completely plan for every opportunity, because someone's going, hey, what if we did this? So when you have a plan, and it's like, I like this plan, this is a good plan, we've planned for everything, and someone pokes the bear, or does something else, you're like, that wasn't supposed to happen. I guess I'll say, personally, does that make you feel more, gosh darn it, why did they do this? Or, hot dang, a new opportunity?
Contingencies upon contingencies.
It sort of depends, I guess, on the storyline. Like if we have everything very precisely balanced, for the final fight for the Axis Super Seed, we had everything precisely balanced.
I think that we've said before, but there were multiple end-in scenarios for that fight.
But it's so in the actual fight, there was just rotating costume changes. To the point that somebody who specializes in music and a bit of musical theater and acting also, noted that the costume changes were incredible, just the speed that we were having them pumping them out and everything like that. And that was the bit that I was most worried about when we were having all our cast meetings and all of our planning meetings, and I was like, okay, we are nailing this down because this has to be smooth.
That took a lot of planning.
This cannot. And then partway through, a player comes up to me going, I'd like to do a thing that's super intense and I need your supervision, Miss AD. And I looked at them incredulously and went, no. I just flat out refused, because there ended up being the story reason of they wanted to do something magical, and the errors were so wonky that it wouldn't have worked. So it worked well in that way, but it was just this, we don't have time. I don't have time to do this. And it also helped that another player that they were going to go to for help went, I don't have time to do this. So but usually it usually is the, hot diggity, a new opportunity. Somebody's like pokes the bear, as it were. We're like, why would they do that? Okay, let's do this. It's like, all right, let's roll out stats for this, giant kraken that they've somehow awoken. Well done them.
Man, that sounds ridiculous. That would never happen.
It's not a specific example at all. That was actually really planned, that one. But
I fucking love that.
That was really cool. Yeah, we're gonna write a story about that, so not too many spoilers. But
what
that
I
was
loved
cool.
about it is that I was the end of the tentacle for the Kraken, and we were very specifically going after Tony right at the end of the fight. And
no, you wouldn't say.
and I, as the end of this massive tentacle, managed to sneak up on Tony.
How does a Kraken sneak up on someone?
I don't know, but I came up and just did my grapple call, and she just starts and looks at me and goes, "When the fuck did you get here?"
She was like, I swear to God, she was like 50 feet away. I turned my back for 3 seconds, and then I hear grapple 100. I'm like, what?
So she was 50 feet away because the tentacle was 50 feet long.
No.
It just swung around and gotcha.
She just she nailed it. She fucking booked it right towards me. I didn't know she would cover that much ground that fast.
She's fast. Her field medic days.
So, just kind of to conclude this conversation, first of all, thank you guys so much for coming in today.
It was fun.
This was awesome. I mean, feel free to come back. I'm sure I will call on you to come back many, many times. We're getting a bit more organized with our guest appearances. But what are your hopes and dreams for Epoch in the future? Is there anything you hope to change? Anything you hope to keep the same? Anything you want to see? Like, what's on the thought board?
I guess right now we're trying to work with an ever-expanding player base, and so therefore we're also trying to work our minimalist cast skeleton crew with that. And it's a pain because it's not that we don't have volunteers. We have lots of volunteers that want to come help cast, and it's amazing. However, our cast cabin is smaller than the studio. And it has all of the stuff in it. So we can essentially have a singular season cast member in addition to the regular permacast. And it's something that we're hoping to try and be able to work around to be able to more fluidly use that all of cast. And I know whenever I bring up an issue that we have, all of the players are like, "Oh, here's how I do it, and here's how you can do it," and all of that. And I have to very politely and forcefully say,
You've already thought of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have to sort it for ourselves. So it's working with that. I don't think we'll outgrow the site, though it'll be exciting when we do. Also terrifying, because as far as I can tell, Mac Shack's the only place. So really hope we don't. But people, come LARP. So yeah, that's pretty much... We're hoping to grow. I mean, I'm hoping to bring up an Epoch Junior into the future sometimes for like essentially the 13 to 16, 18-year-old kind of thing.
Cool.
That's going... I'm trying.
Listen, you have a lot on your plate.
I personally would I'm really excited to see some. I don't know when this will happen. Some stuff not this season, but maybe in the future. There's a lot of like deep cuts, lore bits that our cast has worked hard on, and I'm really
also
wanting to see a lot of this stuff happen.
Really
and
excited
see it in game.
for this season and what we've planned. Like, it's not just one of those like, yeah, I'm excited and everyone should. I'm like, I want to just start talking about it. Like, and just tell everybody everything. Because put that notebook away.
we plan a lot of things. We plan a lot of things seasons in advance. We've had a lot of things stewing in the background, or just even stuff that we aren't able to introduce.
At least not yet, maybe.
Yeah, just because budget.
Or even that, we think, okay, this particular creature lives on the other side of the island.
Yeah.
It is only now just coming up with a reason to come to, make the travel and come across. So of course it's not going to be in a May if it's just thinking now in May to come across. So we have to wait for a season or two before it can actually make its way into game. And so there's a lot of like forward planning and future planning in as much as there's also event by event planning.
But a lot of that
You guys
stuff's
are-
going to be... Sorry.
All I was going to say is you guys are so much more patient than I am. Because I'd be like, oh, Lord, here he come.
Oh, Lord, he coming.
A lot of that stuff's going to be in the background, though, right? So, like, we were talking earlier about going out and finding stuff to do. I want to encourage players to use their life skills, do in-between game stuff if you gotta, talk to NPCs you wouldn't necessarily think might have answers about stuff, because there's a lot of hidden stuff to find out, a lot of mysteries to solve.
We're trying to put more stuff in the woods. A lot of stuff happens in the field because it's a nice, big, bright, open field that you can easily swing your sword in. So why wouldn't you have everything there? But at the same time, it's nice to be able to make every part of town, our two-building town, feel lively. So we're also trying to put a lot more into the woods other than just the gather eggs. We don't know how well it'll work this season, but we're going to try.
I'm excited to see some more lore building stuff. And
Yeah,
what are
me
you
too.
guys have in the works for your next big plot line? That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Oh, Tony, baby. Oh, Tony, honey, you have no idea. I am eyeing you right now. This is...
It's going to be scary.
I'm scared of Sharon's expression right now, so I can't imagine what the game is going to be like. I'm surprised you aren't shaking in your boots today, just because there's you have no idea. Like, at some point this season is going to be okay, and then I don't know, Kron becomes a lich.
Sort of happened.
That almost happened.
What are you going to do to me?
Well, not a lich per se.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm not well versed on the undead creatures. Portrayless with your portrayless, not a word.
If I may say one last thing.
Yeah.
Just in regards to, you were asking what the season holds, and we did say this is a new story, but I want to put it out there have already been hints as to what is coming, and they've been there for longer than you think.
Oh.
So anybody who likes doing that kind of mystery solving, look back.
I'm just going to start scouring all of the,
So what you're saying
all the memory
is-
threads.
Yeah. So what you're saying is track through the woods.
Except for the memory threads tend to be like, so we went swimming, and then a big, plant thing tried to eat us.
Legit almost happened. My second game.
I know, it was a lot of fun. Nobody thought I'd go in.
She got past this fence rock. Flee for your lives.
I will say, that was because of Erica. My actual intent was just to be there as the plant and, sit on the land and just wait for you to figure out how to get past me. And then I heard, oh no, she'd never come in.
I'm such a little shit like that.
One time.
No, we're safe in here. We're safe in here, guys. It's fine. And Sharon's like, the fuck you are. Here I come.
I could, if at any point you're like, oh, this is fine. Surely they won't do this. Oh, they will.
Yeah, never challenge them. That's what I've learned.
But you won't have a fun game if you don't challenge us.
I find a little bit
yeah.
of challenge goes a
That
long
is-
way.
That is exactly the reason why, during my first ever game, when I was getting attacked by some sentient spider plant or whatever, that I was on the ground and I'm like, is that the best you've got? And then the look you give me, I will remember this for the rest of today. I remember this a long time. It was the kind of the incredulous, what did you just say? And, oh, this is how it's going. And then I nearly got eaten by the earth.
I mean, you may not have great games if you don't challenge yourself in cast.
Yeah, if you challenge cast, be prepared for them to accept it, because they will, and they will accept it hard.
That's a big hint, yeah.
Yeah, but
On that note, Rob, did you have something to add to that?
Nope.
Are you sure? Because I was going to wrap it up. If you got something else to say,
If you
should.
got to wrap it up, that's fine.
I don't have to.
I always want to talk about monsters.
Talk about monsters.
Ooh, I have a question.
Okay.
Is there a monster that you're particularly looking forward to bringing in for the first time this
Yes.
season?
Yes. Yes, he has been super excited,
and
Rob.
and there have already been hints for it.
Motherfucker, that better not be one of those giant spiders.
Well, no, people know about those. Actually, those have been around for a long time too, but only recently, when they started becoming more prolific, just in the people's knowledge of them, did people, oh, there's more than one of these things?
Is it a giant bumblebee?
We did get another.
Oh,
No, Erica, sit down.
It's not a bee.
We did get, though, an amazing little bee prop.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how to bring it in.
Yay.
Yeah.
But no, there are a number of other creatures. There was also a very major, huge creature that came out last season, and nobody saw it.
I was the only one to see it. I was out of game because what had happened was Cast had helped Rob get into costume and kit up and everything like that, and I was doing something else. I come back, the person comes back, and I'm just like in Cast cabin, and I just suddenly get, Sharon, Rob needs you. Rob needs you to see.
Don't go.
Yeah, needs to see you right now. I'm like, okay. So I go find where Rob is, thinking like, oh shit, has he broken his ankle? Like, is he, having a mental breakdown? Like, what's going on?
I'd be like, is he breaking up with me?
And I see him, so I'm technically out of game, and I see him in character and in game, and I just watch him in silent awe as he's just in game as this brand new creature.
What is it?
And the absolute fun thing is that so no player ended up seeing this creature, like in game.
That's why go out and look. Stuff happens in the forest even if nobody's there.
Yeah.
God damn it!
But I just die every time I go in the woods.
But so the fun thing is that no player in game actually saw Rob as this creature. A player, and I won't specify who, how, what, where, why, or when, a player did find evidence of this creature, and the best part is that without even knowing it, they used it so appropriately in game.
What is I'm shook. What is this?
I'm Baba shook.
We have so many plans, and we're really hoping to bring this creature back in this season.
Good. I want to know what it is.
And we have more stuff planned for this creature, and other creatures coming from this creature, that kind of thing. Where it's like, okay, the big spiders are going to bring in little spiders, that sort of. And I don't want to give anything away, but Rob was super excited to initially bring it in, and we've worked out some of the kinks that prevented us from fully bringing it in, I hope. And
yeah, a lot of monsters showing up recently, by the way. Our Holdfast Vault.
Thanks,
that does not surprise me in the slightest, because we're just
BT
like
dubs, all your fault.
Yeah, we're just like we're
all little shits.
We're like 5 years old basically in this game, and we're like, let's try and close a rift. Let's throw a golem in the ocean. Like, we don't know what we're doing.
We're essentially a town of murder hobos trying to solve political conflict with swords, and some person that's like, I think if we do this, everything will be fine. And the whole room is just like, shut up, Derek.
Timian's like, let me touch this parasite that's in the water circle. There goes all my mana. Like, we don't
so
think
many
this through.
times
Really
there
good,
was
though. You have.
so many times there was, what do you mean soulbound? Let me shake your hand on that.
That was one time, Sharon.
It wasn't just you.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't feel so bad.
But on that note, I think that little teaser is a great place to end this episode. I know Tony's got to take off pretty soon. So, again, just thank you guys so much for coming in today. I don't think we thank you enough, I don't think we tell you enough how much we all love this game so much and what a good job you guys do. So thank you so much for everything. We're so excited for this season. Thank you for all the hard work you put in.
I still have that photo album next to my bedside.
Do you really?
I do.
We need to add more pictures to it.
Yes, I'm really hoping for more pictures.
Yes, for sure. That's what I'll make that my goal this season, to get some more pictures.
Dope.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope you guys have fun. I'm so excited about these monsters. I'm so excited about this season.
Oh, I know. It's gotten to the point now in the off season where I start imagining myself as Kron in the shower. I'm just like,
I literally saw somebody put their purse try to put their purse on their shoulder, and it slipped off and fell down, and like they completely lost grip. And my first thought was, well, there goes all that mana.
But yeah, for all the listeners at home, obviously from this conversation, you can probably discern we have a super exciting season coming up. So please subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to this on. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're going to be on Spotify soon. We have a YouTube channel, so please subscribe to that YouTube channel if you can. And thank you so much for listening.
and we hope to hear you all next time on the next episode.
And you know what, Tony? Game is like 1 month away, so I'll see you at
May
Game.
2-4.
I'll see you at Game, Erica.
See you guys at Game.
See you at Game.
Like, oh my gosh, that was perfect. That everybody unison, see you at Game.